Hey everyone, so welcome back. We need to talk about when things don't go very well exam wise. So before I get into too many more details, let's roll the intro. Last week was a rough week. I didn't really have much to film because I didn't really have my results to be able to talk about it. That being said, just because I didn't have my results, I was pretty confident that my exam on Friday went really bad. With math, you can kind of get an inkling of how things are going without getting the results. Like if you're struggling to answer questions, you're probably not going to have a great outcome. I walked out of that exam and I'm like, I will be extremely happy if I manage to somehow pass it. And unfortunately, I was just shy. This means more work for the semester to be able to make sure I can pass the class. That being said, everything is kind of will be decided basically like leading up to it. I was quite happy with my performance on the first exam, actually, or the first quiz. The midterm, however, did not go well. Now, as a student and whatever, you try to come up with all of these excuses like, oh, it's such an early exam, or, you know, I wasn't given the proper questions to prepare for it, or whatever. I'm not gonna do that. This fully falls on me, in my opinion. Why is that? Well, there was a concept, and it's really frustrating now because I'm pretty sure I figured out what I did wrong. It's really hard to explain it because the type of math this is, you'd have to be doing something similar in order to understand, but I feel like I understood the concept, but I froze in the moment. And it's really annoying because my head felt really clear. I felt really good. I had a good night's sleep before the exam. I just feel that honestly the time pressure got to me, but like I said, then again, I feel like that's just making excuses. It was also a lot of reading labels, but I feel like that's pretty common to have to do. I don't know. And like I've been trying to come up with, what do I say when I'm asked about why it went badly, like why I didn't pass. I feel like my answer is, well, everything I say is basically an excuse. Let's figure out what I'm doing wrong. If I haven't already come to the right answer on my own, trying to remember the questions that I was struggling with most. But some of it, I think, was the panic of the situation when the first question I felt like I couldn't answer it, that I had come up on my exam. So, once I kind of got to a question where I did feel comfortable and was able to answer pretty quickly, it helped. But by that time, I had already wasted quite a bit of time. It was probably 15 or 20 minutes. And that being said, with everything that has happened with the meditation practice, I don't feel time the same way as I used to. 5 minutes now is like this. And the same with 15 or 20. Like, I literally have to have a timer in front of my face in order to know how much time is passing. The one thing that was nice about the in-person one, they had literally the timer that haunts us during some of the other exams that we have with lab going at the same time. So you could at least tell where you were. But, this one, it just felt like time went so fast. I don't know. But like I said, this is all excuses. There's no I really don't have an answer for why I froze the way I did. I feel like that's what happened, but is that truly what happened? It's a learning opportunity. And I actually want to share a story from university. So, when I first initially was sick with the first symptoms of IIH, it was just before my midterms, or might have been around the first set of midterms, that I was really starting to feel not very good. I got checked out at the end of January in 2018. I think it had been about a week since I had first started experiencing symptoms. I had to write a midterm for my anatomy and cell biology class. Now, part of the reason I did terribly on this exam was because I had missed an important lecture due to forgetting an assignment was due for another class. So, things that can be saved a little bit by having an assignment tracker, keeping track of things properly. And so I had to go and finish that so I could hand it in, and missed a really important lecture, and then didn't have the information I needed from that lecture to be able to perform well in the exam. That was part of it. The other part of it was I really wasn't feeling well the day I wrote that midterm. What's the point of me sharing the story? Well, I ended up, I think, with a 35% on that midterm, and I have my degree. So I didn't fail that class. I didn't have to repeat the class. Could I have done a lot better in the class? Yes. It would have went a lot better if I had done better on that midterm. The thing is like my university where midterms were worth quite a bit. Like, there were big exams. There wasn't really like the big difference between university and the program I'm in right now is there aren't really a lot of midterms that are worth a whole chunk of change. Unfortunately, this math midterm was one of them. We don't have a lot of evaluations in this class. One of them is this one, and it was worth 25%. I didn't end up losing a whole bunch I have to make up, and to be honest with you, it might have been made up by how well I did on the first quiz, but it's going to be very tight so that I'm where I need to be, especially for midterm number 2. So there is a little bit more pressure now to make sure that I do okay on that, on the next 2 quizzes. That is it for this math course. So what do we got here? So yeah, I've got a quiz 2 and a midterm 2. And I don't know what they're worth. I didn't put that into my assignment sheet because I don't want to have that in front of me. I treat every exam, or try to treat every exam, with the same amount of priority to a certain degree. So the drug quizzes, actually, I don't treat with the same amount. I still want to do well on everything, though, because it all adds up. So, like, the drug quizzes work out to 10% overall. So if you can do well on those, and they're fairly, frequent, and they're fairly easy to try and get as much of that final mark as you can. If we look at last week and somebody was to see my marks from last week out of the evaluations that I did, they would probably have asked me, is there like something going on right now that is affecting your performance? Because I didn't pass that drug quiz. I didn't pass the math midterm. I don't know about my open book test yet. I haven't gotten the results. We're supposed to have those maybe by the end of today. This assignment tracker, though, is saving my butt this semester. Like, it is unbelievable how well it keeps you on track. I love it so much. Wish I would have done this last year because I might have had a little bit better of time management and not had maybe even higher marks. Like I said, if somebody had looked at my performance last week, they would have been like, is there something going on? And there was. And I'm not making this as an excuse, but my cat's been going through some health stuff lately, and it's been really stressful. What has happened basically is he's not walking very good, and had to make some changes for him to be able to have a bit of better quality of life, and don't want to spend a lot of money on an animal and don't want them to suffer. And the emotions that go into that, and what's the right decision. Maybe that thing was bugging me more than I realized, because I can't, like, it's hard to tell unless I have signs and symptoms from my body that I'm stressed out. I don't feel stressed the same way as I used to. It is very much harder to tell when my mind no longer races anymore. My mind still tries to take over and figure out and solve problems after the fact to a certain degree. It did that for about a day after the math exam because I'm like, what the heck just happened? And then I had a realization, and I'm just like, really? You really did that on an exam that was like worth that much? The good news is that I have an opportunity to get some extra help with it, so I'm hoping I can figure out that's exactly what happened, and I might even figure that out on my own tomorrow when go over the exam. My point with this is that for those of you who are planning on taking post-secondary education later on, or if you are currently, you're going to have bad exams. It's inevitable. It's going to mean you have to work harder, but it's not impossible. And like I said, this anatomy and cell biology one was one example because it was the one example I actually did fail the exam. But I had a lot of other exams in university where if I didn't get a certain mark on the final, I wouldn't have passed or didn't meet my requirement to get a 60% overall in my major. So there was a lot of that as well, where I just needed to perform a little bit better. And where do you need to be for this? And I'm here to say things might not go the way you expect them to or the way you want them to, but in the end, hopefully you get to where you're going and don't let one bad exam ruin the entire experience. It's from those mistakes and bad experience that you learn. When you're being evaluated and those evaluations cost a lot, it can feel like the end of the world in the moment, but it's not. And it's really important to emphasize that. Maybe I'll share more thoughts after I have my meeting for extra help. That being said, I didn't cry as much as I thought I did. And the reason why was because I initially thought I had performed even worse than what my result was. So although it's a kick to the gut to not pass an exam, to perform overall better in the end of where I thought I would be in the end made the situation hurt a little bit less, actually. Like I said, I don't know if my instructors would ever see this, but if they did, I would say that's why I'm not more upset than what I could be, is because it's not like I was expecting to be way up here and came out down here. I actually expected to be way down here and actually came up a little bit from where I thought it was going to be. Not great when you still don't pass, but a little bit less of a punch to the gut when you perform better than you thought you originally did. Alright everyone, a little bit of an update. Sorry if I look a little tired, I just woke up. It is Sunday. I just wanted to update a little bit on this whole math situation. Had my meeting with my instructor and it was really helpful. Going back and redoing questions that applied to this particular problem, I now understand how this happened and why I felt so confident about these types of questions. So on the worksheet was kind of set up to prepare you to learn how to do the questions. And then on the exam, we basically just got the info we needed on the label to be able to get to like the final answer or like what they were asking. But we had to remember each of the steps. And because I could answer the questions pretty confidently from the worksheet previously, I felt really good about the concept because I got the answers right while missing the overall picture of what that kind of question might involve. So it was a lack of understanding. Another thing I need to do for math is go back to the one lecture and put in the definitions of some of the products that we need. Like some of them I've learned, but there's a few of them that I haven't. And you know how I was saying I thought it might bite me in the butt on the exam? It bit me in the butt on the exam on one of the questions. So I need to make sure that I know what each of those products actually is. It was kind of frustrating actually with the whole situation that happened because I thought I was ready for the exam and I wasn't. I'm wondering if there's a way that I can be given some practice just given like label information basically. Now that I'm kind of aware that that's what the worksheets did, I'm a little skeptical when it comes to the rest of them that it's not doing the same thing. Like if you were in actual practice, you wouldn't have like, well, first you need to figure out powder volume. What's the original concentration of if you were to reconstitute it properly? Like that you don't have, although it should give you the original concentration, but like the powder volume and stuff like that, or what would be the new volume that you would need to do. Like you need to know that that's what you would have to find. And on the exam, that's how it was done. But on the worksheets, it wasn't, and it didn't click until I went back to it that that's what I should have been getting out of it was the process on how to get to an answer based upon those really important few steps. This is what you're supposed to do when something doesn't work out the way you expect to, is take the opportunity and learn from it. That's the whole point. And I enjoy sharing my highs from school. Everything else is going really, really well, honestly. I'm actually performing stronger this year overall, besides math, like besides in math, I'm overall performing a little stronger this year than I did last year, which is what I need to do. Just need to bring math up to where everything else is, and things will be just fine. I hope you guys maybe take something out of this. Don't take one failure as like a complete hit to your personal ego. Take it as a learning opportunity instead. But anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you guys, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video a little bit. I hope you got something out of it. If not, and thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.